Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Brickazoids Den. Today, I have some more Owl House content for you all, and that is going to be ranking all of the Season 2B episodes of the Owl House. Now, I thought Season 2B had some pretty amazing episodes in there, and now I want to rank all 11 of them from worst to best. And I'm very, very excited. Uh, there's again a lot of great episodes here, and I think there are probably going to be some surprises on here. But other than that, I think if you watched my breakdown videos of each episode, you probably know where I kind of feel on most of the episodes here. So, but yeah, I guess I'm pretty excited to get into it. So we just get started right now. Starting with number 11 on the list here, we have Any Sport in a Storm, and that is the one where Hunter. This is kind of the start of Hunter's redemption arc, where he meets with Willow, meets with Gus, joins the team, I forget what it's called, Flyer Derby. Is that what it's called? Was that what it was? I don't remember what it was called, what sport it was, but that sport that Willow and Gus were trying to recruit people for. Again, this is the start of Hunter's redemption arc. He starts to become friends with Willow, friends with Gus, and that was the main plot of the episode. And then the side plot was with Amity and Luz trying to chase down the author of the Azora books, who ends up being Tiny Nose, I think that was a fake. I think that was a decoy thing or something like that. But either way, that side plot just wasn't very fulfilling in my opinion. We did get to see a lot of side characters that we haven't really seen in a while, like Grimhammer. Was that his name, right? I think that was his name. Yeah, Grimhammer, and then Tiny Nose, as well as Bartholomew, although we did see him a few times previously in Season 2, so that wasn't too much of a surprise. But either way, that side plot just wasn't really fulfilling, and I didn't really like it much. And then the main A plot was fine, but it just wasn't my thing really. It was just, it was just fine. This whole episode, in my opinion, I think was just starting out the Hunter redemption arc, and that was really all it was used for. Although we did get some pretty cool moments with Darius kind of being a father figure to Hunter as well, which was nice to see. But overall, not too crazy about this episode compared to some of the others in Season 2B. But that doesn't mean that it isn't still pretty alright. Next up, we have number 10, which is Them's the Breaks Kid. And this episode, it was fine. It was good. This is all the backstory episode with Ida and Rain, as well as a little bit of Lilith. But yeah, this episode I just wasn't too crazy about. It was fine. It was backstory that I think was like needed. So that was cool that we did get an episode on it. But it's just not really, I guess, what I was expecting, or just kind of like the backstory that, or just an episode that wasn't as good as the rest, I guess should be saying here. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't my kind of episode. I did like the introduction. I think this was the first episode the first episode of Season 2B that we saw Terra Snapdragon. No, that's wrong. That's not true. I think the first episode we met Terra Snapdragon, but either way, Terra Snapdragon returned in this episode, and then we also got to see young Rain, young Ida, a little bit of young Lilith as well, like I said previously. But overall, this was just a backstory episode on how Rain and Ida met, and that's completely fine, but it just wasn't my kind of episode personally. But what I did enjoy about this episode was the final act, where you kind of they went through the maze, Ida and Rain, and then tried to stop all the witches and wilds, or whatever what the game was called. But we did get to see Rain and Ida also kind of fight Terra Snapdragon, and see Terra Snapdragon somewhat respect Ida, which was very interesting to see. But overall, just, again, not my episode, which is completely fine. But again, it was definitely backstory that was needed to kind of fill in some holes here. Number 9 on the list here, we have Labyrinth Runners. This was one of the later episodes of Season 2B, and this is the one where Gus basically has like one eye he can see regularly, and then one eye he can see like a full-blown illusion, and he puts an illusion over the entirety of Hexside School, which is very impressive. This is obviously a Gus-heavy episode, with even the beginning opening sequence showing off young Gus first coming to Hexside and being bullied by a bunch of students. This is also where Gus met Willow, so that was pretty cool to see that like little backstory. But overall, this episode was pretty good. We got an introduction to a new Coven head, Adrian Gray, I think his name was. He was the illusionist Coven head. he was a little annoying. Wasn't too crazy about his character personally, but it was cool to see a new Coven head shown, I guess, or put in the spotlight for this episode as the villain. And then also seeing Gus and Hunter's friendship start to kind of grow a little bit more was also very nice, as they were kind of introduced to each other in Any Sport in a Storm, and now that's been continuing this friendship with them in this episode here. So it was very cool to see, them all hanging out, or, him and Gus hanging out. And then also we have another side kind of plot, I guess, where Willow and Amity are hanging out as well, because it seems like their friendship still isn't fully complete, I guess. There was just some kind of little problems with it where Amity wasn't really seeing Willow's full potential as a witch, and seeing that Willow can take care of herself now, very much stronger than she used to be, because of course Amity always saw Willow as kind of a weak witch, I guess, but Willow clearly is very strong when it comes to plant coven magic. So overall, pretty good episode, nice introduction of a new coven head, but still it just wasn't as good as some of the other ones on this list, I guess, is the best way to describe it. Number 8 on the list here is O Titan, Where Art Thou? This is the precursor setup episode for the final 2 episodes of Season 2B, where we see Luz and Ida go on one final sillier mission before they kind of take on Belos and the real serious things that are going on in the Boiling Isles. Ida and Luz go and infiltrate a precinct. I think Emperor Coven precinct. I don't remember what it was called, but they go and infiltrate that, where Ida is able to contact Rain and ensure Luz's safety. But Luz overhears this. They actually get into a fight. That was kind of cool to see Ida versus Luz. I didn't really expect we would see that in this show or the season or anything like that. And then we also have a side plot where King kind of has like a midlife crisis at this point, kind of realizing that he is a Titan, and Steve, the Coven guard, the old former Coven guard, decides to try and help him with overcoming this sense of, realization that he is a Titan, and also worry that he is a Titan, I guess, in some sense. But yeah, that was kind of cool to see Steve, because Steve was really cool looking. But overall, again, this was just a setup episode and nothing more, really. I wasn't really able to take anything away from this episode besides, like, hey, we're setting up for the big finale. There's about to be a lot going on. And I guess because they actually introduced the Resistance as well. Rain, Darius, Eberwolf, a bunch of other people as well. Steve was a part of it. But they did set up the Resistance, I guess. But other than that, nothing too crazy really came out of this episode. Nothing like, no big reveals or anything like that. But yeah, that was really about it for this episode. Just a precursor setup episode to the final 2. Number 7 on the list here, we have Edge of the World. This was a pretty great episode. I really enjoyed watching this one. And this one was all about King. This was a more King's backstory kind of episode, filling in some more cracks. And this one was where Luz, Hooty, and King go on an adventure to the Titan's Finger, I think it was. And they end up being transported to another Titan, I think, where the Titan Trappers reside. And of course, King doesn't know this at this point, but all these characters that we see are all wearing the same King mask. He thinks he's found his people, but they end up being the enemies of his people, really, and they just end up wearing these Titan skulls as a sign of fear, I guess. But a lot of big reveals this season, and also the return of Salty, who is the ship captain from episode 1 of season 2, so that was pretty cool. I really liked that character. But yeah, a lot of pretty crazy reveals. We meet Bill, who is the Titan Trapper leader, and also see that they praise the Collector. That's kind of like their god. That's their religion, is Collector, is their god, I guess. I don't know. I already said that. Anyways. But yeah, we see a lot of characters who wear these same kind of masks as King is wearing, and they end up being Titan Trappers who are going after all the Titans and killing them, basically. And King, we also learn, is a Titan. We learn he is a full-blown Titan, not a Titan Trapper, but is a Titan, and his dad is the Boiling Isles. So, again, so many wild, crazy reveals with a really great episode to back it up, where we see King trying to enjoy some, like, not ceremonies, but, like, I can't think of the word right now, but like different bonding exercises, I guess, with his group, and then also Luz and Hootie kind of meeting with Bill and learning about the actual truth behind these characters, and they're actually Titan trappers. So again, two very cool like little storylines that come together in one at the end, and a very great episode overall. All right, so for number 6 on the list here, we have Elsewhere and Elsewhen. This was a pretty cool episode, including Luz and Lilith going back in time to meet Philip, which was pretty crazy. This is a really crazy episode. Again, this is another episode that has a lot of reveals in it, or at least one major reveal, which was pretty cool to see. But yeah, Luz and Lilith go on an adventure, go back in time with these sands of time, or whatever they're called. I don't even remember what they're called, but these sands that bring them to back in time, basically. And they are able to find a younger Philip Wittebene, and he is being bullied by witches. We kind of learn some of his backstory. He seems like a nice character at first, kind of bonding with Luz over being a human in this realm, but ends up turning on them, of course, and we learn that he is also Emperor Belos, which is suspected from all the previous episodes, but at least we have official confirmation that he was in fact Emperor Belos, using the the Palisman energy to stay younger and to kind of soothe his curse that was all these glyphs on his arms and things like that, which was super crazy to see. I mean, that whole ending sequence where we actually learn that Philip is Belos was pretty crazy to watch, but we also get to see that Luz and Lilith were some of the causes, or a part of the causes, rather, of why Philip became Belos, basically. Where, he was always bullied by witches in this realm, because, he was a human and everything like that. And Luz and Lilith were just another example of being bullies towards him in this realm. And that's why he ends up becoming Belos, which is pretty crazy to learn that our main character that we've been following for, lots of episodes is the main cause for, or one of the main causes for the villain to become the villain, which is so crazy. Really, really love that whole, circle, I guess, reveal there. So that was really cool to see. But overall, really great episode. Okay, we have officially reached our number 5 spot, which is Follies at the Coven Day Parade. This was the premiere episode for Season 2B. This would be Season 2, Episode 11 here. And this one was pretty great. I mean, this was just a very adventure episode, I guess, really is the best way to describe it, where we see, Luz and Amity are escaping Terra Snapdragon, and like there's this whole parade thing going on. There's a lot of funny comedy moments with King and Hootie piloting a float, and then also like a Belos float, I think, actually. And then also Ida is trying to save Rain. Like there's just so many different things happening in this episode that were really, really great to see. We also get the introduction of Terra Snapdragon, the plant coven head, which is a very cool character, by the way. Really, really enjoyed her character in the episodes that she was in. But again, very, very, very cool episode, very cool adventure episode that I really, really enjoyed as the premiere. Just, I would say, very similar to Season 2, this was pretty much a perfect premiere, just to kind of bring me back into the world of the Owl House after the hiatus that the show had gone on. And then, of course, following up with Elsewhere and Elsewhen, which was another great episode. So, yeah, again, really great comedy moments with Hootie and King. Luz and Amity fighting Terra Snapdragon. That whole sequence was pretty great. And then also Ida trying to save Rain were all storylines that were pretty crazy, or not pretty crazy, but pretty cool to watch. And in Hootie and King's case, pretty funny to watch. And then also we get to see kind of Belos at the end of the episode somewhat win over the public of the Boiling Isles with a speech that he made showing his face officially, which was also pretty crazy. The public's on his side for the Day of Unity, and that is obviously a very dangerous thing. So, yeah, this episode, very, very good. Next up, we have number 4, which is Reaching Out. This episode was pretty good. This was an Amity Luz episode, as well as a Blight family episode. Also, the start of the Alador Blight redemption. Although, he was never really the worst guy. It was more like Odalia, but still, Alador kind of got a redemption in this episode. But even though this episode had a fairly simple plot line, there was a lot of other kind of things going on that were really deep and really important for the show. And one of those things being, it was the anniversary of Luz's dad passing away, which was really crazy. I that was the kind of like a question that I had going into some of the other seasons, or season 2 in general when season 2 started, and it wasn't answered in season 2A, but then it was answered here. Luz's dad actually died, which was really really sad, of course. And it was the anniversary of Luz's dad passing away, and it was basically the whole episode was Luz trying to take her mind off of the anniversary, I guess. Really was trying to take her mind off of it, and Luz was able to do that for a temporary amount of time with helping Amity trying to do this like witch's duel thing, but it didn't really last super long. And eventually, when Luz finally spilled the beans about what was going on, Amity, was very willing to help and kind of do a little memorial almost for him in the Boiling Isles, which was super great to see. And also having Edric kind of realize that he isn't just an illusionist coven person was also very cool. He was very good at potion making as he helped Eda and King trying to make a potion, I think for Belos, I think it was, which was pretty crazy. But we also, again, Alador Redemption Arc, we got to see a pretty wild fight with Eda, Alador, Amity, Edric, Emera, Luz, like a very large amount of characters fighting a mutated Warden Wrath, which was also pretty cool. So overall, very great episode for so many different reasons, and a very deep and emotional episode as well. Next up here, we have number 3, which is Hollow Mind. This had to be my most anticipated episode of this season because, oh man, there was just so many possibilities with this episode, and it did not disappoint. It was so good. Just Luz and Hunter were in Belos' mind. We got to see so much stuff about the Golden Guards, which was really, really crazy. We got to see like the start of them. We got to see Belos or Philip like in this in-between phase where he's still Philip in some manner, but also really starting to embrace his Belos side. It was so crazy to see. It was so cool. We got to see him terrorizing people. And we got to see him using a draining spell on a bunch of citizens of the Boiling Isles and like basically killing them. It was super dark. Really, really dark stuff. I don't know how they showed it on Disney Channel of all places, but it was just so well done. The episode was so great. Got to see so many good backstory moments, and also the final kind of act of this episode where Hunter is taken away, and then it's just losing Belos in Belos' mind was crazy to see. It was just Belos being like, just zero care in the world, knowing how powerful he is, that Luz and Hunter together cannot stop him, that he's just so relaxed about these characters entering his mind that he's just kind of like, all right, you can go do whatever you want, but I have the public on my side. The Day of Unity is coming. I have all this power. You can't do anything. You can't stop me. And, also Belos nonchalantly just revealing that Hunter is a Grimwalker was also really, really crazy and shocking generally. I mean, it was kind of hinted at. It was a theory that was kind of being thrown around that Hunter was indeed a Grimwalker kind of copy of the brother of Belos, but it wasn't, confirmed. And now in this episode, clearly it was definitely confirmed. So again, Hollow Mind, absolutely incredible episode. It was my most anticipated episode of season 2B. And again, it didn't disappoint. It was so good. Next up here, we have number 2, and this is King's Tide. This is the finale episode of season 2B. Wow, what an episode. There's just, so much happened. I mean, we saw Luz, Amity, Willow, Hunter, and Gus versus Belos, which was pretty crazy. That was an awesome fight. We got to see Eda get, have a coven attached to her, and then trying to infiltrate the Day of Unity, but was unsuccessful, which was crazy. I mean, oh my god. And then also Rain, dying, I think. Dying, right? We're being drained of their power, but probably dead, I think. Either way, crazy. We also got to see King release the Collector, which was crazy, with the help of Kikimora. Like, oh my god, all the characters from this season came together, and, some of which in different storylines, but still super well done, and all for this final act where the Collector shows up. We get to see the human form of the Collector, which was hinted at in previous episodes, like, I think it was season 2, episode 8, where Ida goes through like a dream phase and sees the Collector hooded, so we don't really get to see their Collector's face. But yeah, we get all these hints at this Collector in the human form. We actually get to finally see the Collector in human form in this episode, and just seeing how powerful this character is. I am so nervous for season 3 and just what could happen with these characters, because again, the Collector is really strong. Collector's got powers. Collector's got some wild power. So again, King's Tide, very good finale episode, super good episode overall, and that's why it's at number 2. The number 1 episode on the list here is actually Clouds on the Horizon, which is episode 20. I didn't expect this episode to be the best. When I watched Hollow Mind, I think that was episode like 16 or something, I was blown away. Didn't think any other episode could beat that episode. And, well, I mean, I guess there was 2 that did, but this episode in particular stood out, Clouds on the Horizon, because it was just incredible overall. I mean, it was a lot of Lumity stuff, which was amazing, by the way. So good Blight family stuff. Alador was completely, turned to the good side now. Odalia was really shown to be super evil. I mean, that was just terrible. Odalia, really horrible person overall, I gotta say. And seeing the Lumity kiss finally was incredible. That was amazing. What a great scene. Different animation and everything for it. Of course, that was much needed because it was a absolutely incredible moment and very unexpected. Like when I watched it, I'm like, oh my god. I didn't expect this to happen so like this. And I was so, I guess, involved with the Emperor's storyline, like the Emperor Coven storyline, that I completely almost forgot about Lumity, and that moment right there just kind of brought me right back into that whole storyline. I'm like, oh my god, I forgot that there was also this storyline going on. But yeah, it made me so happy, and just a very great episode with all these great moments. And we also got to see the group come together. We got to see Hunter, we got to see Willow, Gus, and Luz all come together, and then obviously Amity and Edric and Emira also joined in as well, and King, I think, as well. And yeah, it just, Alador Blight, he was a really great character in the beginning of the season, beginning of this season, and now he's finally on the good side with us, and he's even cooler now. I love his powers. I love the use of his powers. He has this backpack thing that he can use abomination arms to fight with. It was really cool. And also seeing Alador versus Odalia was really great, as well as Kikimora as well. And yeah, again, it was just a great episode overall. Perfect episode in my opinion. And yeah, that's why it's at number 1. So there you all have it. That is my ranking for episodes 11 through 21 of Season 2 of The Owl House, Season 2B here. And again, love the show. Great episodes here. Great another bunch of 11 episodes. Cannot wait for Season 3 with only 3 45-minute episodes, which is disappointing, or not disappointing, but a little sad because that's all we're getting, but still very exciting to see how the show concludes. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed my ranking. If you did, do the common YouTube stuff, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.